Esther Massa. I'm your moderator. I'm a stage and film actress, as well as a scriptwriter and a TV and radio content creator. That's why they kind of figured I would be best to know the film lingo in the moderation. So welcome Tony, welcome Gina, Wilfred, Alex, Samuel, and this other name, I really want to get it right. So I'm hoping that they can help me pronounce it. Is it Sarge or Sarge?
You can say Serge. Serge is fine.
Serge, got it.
Yes.
Serge. Okay. So maybe you guys can briefly introduce yourself and just the impact or the skills that you're inputting in the film industry. Just a short intro.
Thanks for having us here. My name is Tony Kamau. I'm a Kenyan-based documentary producer. I have 2 features in the festival circuit. The first is Softy, which is showing right now in Kenyan cinemas. I'm Sundance Special Jury Prize winner. The other is I Am Samuel, which is showing at BFI. And I'm also the youngest female documentary producer to be invited as a member of the Academy for Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences.
Hi, my name is Gina. I'm a multicultural filmmaker, passionate about telling different stories about Africa. So my first feature film, Leo, was able to screen in 16 global cities. It's currently screening in Amazon, still in production with the second film, Chep. Yeah, on the side, I do stage plays and infomercials.
Hi, my name is Serge Lukwe. I'm the new film and media attaché at the French Embassy. I'm discovering Kenya. I'm brand new here. Been here for less than 2 months. And in my previous life, I've launched film festivals. I've worked in distribution, acquisition, and now my role is to create synergies between French and East Africa at large, but of course with a focus on Kenya. And that encompasses training as well as creating opportunities for Kenyan films in Europe and all of that. So that's what I'm doing at the French Embassy, and I'm happy to be here.
My name is Wilfred Kiomi. I'm what you would call like a creative entrepreneur. So I'm in a bit of many things. I'm in training. I'm involved in training. So I'm the founding director of Africa Digital Media Institute. I'm recently now moved into distribution and marketing. We also have a platform called Vumi Central that we've just recently launched, and it's growing.
Hello everyone, my name is Samuel Tebandeke. I'm Ugandan. I must always say that. I'm a filmmaker. I used to be a contemporary dancer and been screenwriting since 2009, started to produce in 2017. And most recently, I've done 2 short films, produced 2 short films, co-produced another one, co-produced a feature film, developing a couple of shorts and feature films, but also recently launched a streaming platform called Kiasi TV, which is basically focused on short-form content, short-form audio and video content. We're developing the platform currently, so yeah.
In your experience, what are the talent gaps in the film industry, especially in Kenya? What do you think are the gaps in the film industry? What is lacking? So I'd really like everybody to answer this one, because from your intros, everybody is in the industry in very specific fields. So it would be interesting to know what everyone is thinking in terms of what are the gaps in Kenya and Africa as a whole in the film industry.
Well, I mean, first, Kenya is a great country, and I really like the space that we're in, where, Binyavanga said, I think there's just budding creativity everywhere, So I think we don't lack in the space of creators having content. I think we lack more on systems and structures, and first, for you to create anything, it needs some semblance of resources.
Yeah.
So just finding people, investors who understand this space and how it works, that's lacking. 2, how you get your money back. How many cinemas do we have that are functioning in Kenya? We have Softy, which is a great film. I'm in Kisumu right now, and I can't watch the film. The cinema is not there. So that's where you get your money. I mean, that's one of your fast ways of getting your money. So the structures of cinemas and Kenyans not having a cinema culture, where they really go out in numbers to support the work. So those are lacking. Of course, when you're looking into doing 3D stuff, working with green screens, like more of a Hollywood setting, animal wranglers. I remember in my movie I had to lose the dog because we needed a dog chase, and finding a dog, they brought me a security dog that would almost kill everyone, So they were not like trained dogs that could work on a set. So animal wranglers. So those specialization things, doing special effects for makeup, for for some characters, if you're looking into shooting fantasy, it's lacking in those things. So, but that being said, I think when we lack, then it creates more space for innovation. So, yeah.
I know that one of the key areas that people are not actively being trained in is producers. And that's interesting because there are a lot of creatives with projects. You have a lot of crew members, you have so many stories, but you don't have people who can shepherd the stories like Gina or Tony. You don't have many of those. The critical mass has not yet been reached. And so a lot of us have to almost produce out of necessity because, I produce because I enjoy it. I love organizing things, but I would love to have had training, but also I would have loved to have someone else to come on board my project and take it with me so I can just write or direct or fit myself in another area in the industry, or in the project rather.
We are waiting for cinemas to open in different parts of Kenya so that we can show Softie. We were meant to be in Kisumu, so hoping that you can actually be able to see it, Gina.
I do, and I've been retweeting it, and I'm just like, because I know I had a movie, I just know how hard it is to market, and so I understand, because you enter the field from I want to tell a story, and then you figure out you have to make business sense, and then you're thrown in a pool of sharks. Is how do I sell these things? So I understand completely. I will watch, I retweet. I'm just like, my friends are watching in Nairobi. So yeah, and I'm like, if we can go beyond to Uganda, to whatever, I just believe in making an African film for an African audience. I just think the cinemas in Kenya are too small to make money sense. You need numbers.
You need scale. You definitely need scale. And also, I think the understanding when it comes, because I work in factual, which is documentary. And to be honest, how you finance a documentary project is very different from narrative. Yes. Like, I salute anyone who's working in narrative and putting a narrative project, finance together for a narrative project out of Africa, because I know how hard it is. I think we're luckier in documentary that I think the barriers to being able to produce a documentary out of Africa, they're less. It's still difficult, but they're less. We have DocuBox, which gives grants. There's more of a grant system around financing documentaries. There are TV stations outside of Kenya, in Europe and the States that will actually co-produce feature documentaries. Because Softie was a co-production with POV on PBS, and it also got co-produced by BBC Storyville. So it's hard. And still it's hard because you can't fully finance. So when you talk about what are the talent gaps, I'm just going to echo what Gina said. Where are the financing structures? How do you put a project? How do you finance a project? Because if I was to do narrative, I wouldn't even know where to start because it's not as generous.
It's not. And the funny thing is, people are always like, when is the next film? And I'm just like, do you watch the first one? Did you buy anything from the first one? It's just, it has to make business sense. And I tell people, doing narrative or fictional, you're in for the long haul. If it's taking Hollywood filmmakers 10 to 5 years to make the film, you're not necessarily really going to make your film within a shorter period. And so many of them give up, and I'm like, it's a process, you know.
Mainly, we've talked about the gaps that are there, and the points that Gina has brought in together with Sam and Tony, they're all very relevant. But the question now would be how to address these gaps, you know. And most people think that having a film school in Kenya is helpful, because now we're talking about the youth, somebody who wants to come into film. And most of the people, I don't know about the six of you, but most of the people have learned the skills on the job.
We definitely need film schools. There's something that film school helps you to do it, and it's really helps you to start networking very early. And these are the people who you're going to probably spend a lot of time together, making films together. It also allows you to make as many mistakes that, you know, as many mistakes as you can very early on. Now, I believe, you know, globally actually, film schools are very expensive. And for you to say you can have a film school everywhere, every region, it actually, unless it's government backed and they put in the, you know, the right amount of equipment that is necessary, it will just be a waste of time. Yeah, we have been in this business for the last 9 years, and we've invested quite a lot of equipment for the students. We also have partnerships with like Kenya Film Studios, and also like Kenya Grip. So if the students need to access any equipment, it's available for them. We in-house, we have our own gear. I believe we have up to, you know, a camera that can shoot up to 6K. So the students are able to do any type of production at that level. And even on the platform, I've actually put up three short films done by the students. So it's not to say, you can't say that equipment or lack of film schools is what making people not, you know, develop. You can also learn, you know, like you can learn on the job as much as that. And there's also many resources available online as well. So I always say, someone should not say they can't learn because they don't have access to a film school.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree that film schools are needed. I don't have a full understanding yet of what is existing in Kenya, but I know there's ADMI. I know you can also learn cinema at Kenyatta University and other schools, mainly in Nairobi, I believe. And I think, you know, it definitely would make sense to have, and I think it goes with what the country is going through with the devolution. It makes sense to have film schools in different regions of the country, maybe not all the 47 counties, but at least map out the whole country and have in each region, the wider regions, one school that is the reference for that area. It's extremely important, but of course there's also the learning on the job is a reality. Most of the filmmakers I've spoken to, a lot of them have learned on the job. Kenya has a great opportunity, which is it's a place that attracts productions from everywhere. So you can have an American production, you can have a European production happening in Nairobi, and that allows people who are, you know, just the fixer or the assistant to the producer, the assistant to the director to get, you know, tremendous experience. So that's something that is valuable, and I think that's actually another area that Kenya needs to develop to really position itself as a place that attracts you know, productions from all over the world, because this country is blessed with a diversity of landscapes, diversity of people, of everything. So this is really an area that could also help the training. So it's really not just a question of means and resources, especially not financial resources. I think with the right strategies, Kenyans can really gain and upscale very quickly.
So you've said something, like both of you have said that equipment are there. You know, the equipment needed to learn a skill are there. As well, you have said that the schools are there if you need to go to school. Then what exactly, like a youth coming up, right? What would you tell that person? Because all of you are well equipped right now and well skilled in the places that you are in. But what would you tell a young person coming up? How are there mentorship programs? Have any of you held any mentorship programs? Just as Gina mentioned, are there agents? Are there agents who are going to take up a producer, or agents who are going to take up an actor? Are they there? Because as we can see, the commercial industry of advertisement, commercial models, they've kind of structured themselves in a different way. What would you say is lacking for us, or are those things there? It's just us who don't know where to find them. So, Tony, I see you smiling. So maybe I could ask you to to tell us, like, what are your thoughts?
I think there's lots of truth in what's been said so far. They're amazing schools. Like EMI is a pretty fantastic school just in terms of the hands-on experience.
We can't hear you. We can hear you very well.
And now, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so I'll start again. Yes. So I was just going to say that, there's fantastic schools in Kenya. And like Wilfred said, you can also learn outside of school. Everyone's journey is different. And I think right now we're quite fortunate that especially in the midst of COVID, there are a lot of resources available for free. For example, Sundance Collab. They offer free master classes, and people go online and give those master classes, which I think is a form of mentorship. Skilled people doing that. I think us being on this panel and sharing our experiences, which I try and do as much as possible, when I can, it's a form of mentorship, sharing our experiences. I think that it's kind of like a two-way street. Yes, it would be great to mentor. I would love to mentor because I learned from shadowing other people or working with more experienced people. I think the challenge with doing that in this business environment right now is that it's expensive to mentor. If you don't have a production that's paying for you to have like a shadow director or a shadow producer, it's resource intensive. And I'm talking about your time. I'm talking about like having to pay stuff because you don't want someone coming to your office for free.
Yeah.
It's not a 3-month process, it's a couple of years process. You're investing in someone. So I just think that there are currently no reward systems in place as such to encourage mentorship within production companies. Support to be able to mentor people. And then I would also say, I think it's kind of like, and I don't want to sound a bit harsh, but I think like the generation of, I don't want to be in the same age, the same age because Wilfred, because I know how old he is. I think we also just come from a different age group, from like the people in the early 20s, because we learned that the industry was about like kind of working your way up. I started as a PA on set. Yeah, and sometimes when I meet young people, they want to, produce a feature film as their first film, and I find, and I'm seeing other people laughing, so maybe someone else should take on this. But I think that the idea of kind of growing into the role and understanding what all the different roles are, I found that very important in my own journey, like starting from anything, and then understanding like, how do all the different systems fit together. And I feel that is kind of missing from this younger generation. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe someone else can look at that part of the statement. Yeah.
Right. I think you are right. That is missing if I say in this generation, then I sound like I'm the people you're talking about. If I say in that generation, then you know my age. So I'll just say it's missing in the generation. Yeah. So
I think
I would like to have Sam tell us more about this, because Sam, in your profile, it did say that you have worked with Ginger Inc. And I'm thinking at Ginger Inc., you saw a lot of mentorship coming up with people making films and having shadow directors and shadow producers.
Yes, I technically I worked for, on the ground I worked at Ginger Inc., but I worked for One Fine Day Films, which I will say and know objectively that I feel, in my opinion, coming from Uganda, that One Fine Day really set up a lot of filmmakers that are in the industry today, and a lot of the production that kind of started production companies. And that's my observation coming from the other side of the pond. And for me, I feel like programs like these are wonderful. And like Tony said, it's nice if they're attached to projects, because then you're learning on the job, you're applying as you're learning. Because if some people may not have the time to go to ADMI or to KU, Kenyatta University, to learn, but they may have 3 months, 6 months to be on a project, learn a diversity of skills, and basically just be able to experience that on a and make a choice about what kind of place they want to be in. I want to also address the second thing about agencies. Now, I believe that agents are great. However, agents work in an environment where there's consistent work. And that's why for the modeling industry, the fashion models, there's consistent work. There's more consistent work than in film. So, you know, you're more likely to see, oh, someone can cast a model in this commercial and that ad or whatever. But for film, it's not as it's a little complex, because you don't have so many of those projects coming up, and there's a large population of young people or people generally on the crew. And for example, I'm going to hire people I know that I've worked with over time, because, you know, we have built a relationship, which comes down to the other thing about tribe. We need to build tribes, and young people, I'm 37, so I'm not as young as, but I believe that the need to build a tribe is so important, because as much as it sounds like a cartel, it's kind of like a cartel. Like, you have your guys. If I have a project, for example, I know people I will call. I know them, different departments, and I know that they know what I'm about and what kind of things I'm dealing with. You know, so if I tell them I have no money today, they say, okay. If they like the story, they'll come on board. If they don't want to work on the project, they'll let me know. No hard feelings. And that's something that young people can do now. Anyone, anyway, can do that. Build the relationship, build your tribe, because those are the people who are going to employ you. This industry, as any other industry in the world, is about networking, is about relationships. You can't expect to be hired if no one knows who you are. People, in fact, it's like investing in companies. People invest in people they believe in. It's a relationship, you know, people they know, people they believe in. In Uganda, we have this thing called technical know-who. At the time, we used to sneer at it. However, as I've grown older, I realize that's fantastic. I want to know everyone in those positions, because those are the guys who give me work.
I would not say you go into film for lucrativeness, you know. I think because you will give up, because the money it's not a quick return thing. I think you need to have something more than that. And what keeps a lot of the creators that you're seeing alive is passion, that they are driven by something deeper, that they feel the need for different African stories to be shared. I don't know for Tony what her motivation is for Softy. There's a civil cause behind it, you know, that we do want to see a better Kenya. So there's more to it, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to make money from it, but the passion behind the creative allows the creative to ride the and eventually, of course, it pays off. If you're good at it, it pays off. So otherwise you'll end up doing crappy shows and, you know, doing every reality thing that you can do so that you can make the back. So I think you need more. Yeah, but you know, I'm excited also for where Africa is going, because there's a lot of synergy going on with African countries, co-creating. Like right now, my co-producers are from South Africa. You know, it helps when you have that, because it allows, like, for the next film to access cinemas easier in South Africa, where they have more cinemas. You know, so so I think I'm all for Pan-Africanism.
Maybe the question could have been like, how lucrative can it be? Because I think at the end of the day, it's about the potential of the industry. The industry is clearly not there yet. It's still quite new, quite young, and there's a long way to go for the Kenyan industry to mature. But there are, Gina mentioned South Africa. We can also talk about Nigeria. I think these are examples of where the industry can go. Nigeria is a huge industry today. It was not always like this. It took 15, 20 years to build to where it is now. But I think it could be a great example for Kenya. And what you see is that when films start having a success at the box office and also on Netflix, then what you see is that you have more private money, more private investors that are willing to contribute and to participate into this, because they see film in general as something that becomes viable.
But what I do know is that currently, as everyone knows, there are different places where you can put your content. You can take it to the cinema. They're just not enough to monetize, to be able to recoup. So you have to use a multi-pronged approach. So you're going for the central Showmax, if you're lucky, Netflix. You're looking at regular TV. You're looking at community screenings. I mean, even in universities and things, educational purposes. I mean, Wilfred obviously has more knowledge about distribution on the different channels. But what I do know is that you have to be very aware of the fact that you won't get back your money from one channel.
I don't know if before we move on to the next question, if maybe Gina or Wilfred would like to jump on that.
I would like to jump on that because that has been my journey for the last 7 years, especially for fictional film. You have to understand the amount of investment you get. You cannot just focus on Kenyan market. And I know people keep saying, oh, Nigeria is, I'm like, Nigeria has 200 million plus people. Kenya is 40 million. You can't compare the markets. You know, so you can't compare the amount of cinemas in Nigeria and the cinemas in Kenya. So I am all for, if you're going on a fictional film, do collaborations, make an East African film, make Kenya and Nollywood, make Kenya and South Africa, reach out to the wider African collaborations, because it will not make financial sense of your money just focusing on yourself. Unless you want to do a simple rom-com, that's different. But I'm talking about serious budgets where you're looking for investments more than 200,000 plus USD. You're going to have to do collaboration, co-productions. The other income stream that you didn't touch on is airlines. Before COVID, I was able to get significant returns from that. Just different airlines, Emirates, Ramco Airlines, South African Airlines. There are some certain airlines that are favorable to African content. The only problem is they don't buy you like a Hollywood film. And so those are certain prejudices that exist. And they are serious prejudices. The more you walk into the industry, when you're selling African content. And so because of that, then you end up being a filmmaker. I don't know whether you've noticed a lot of African or Black American filmmakers end up being civic activists, It's because of that. There's a lot of prejudice when you're buying African content. So I think agents are very important, and having access to agents, because how I'm able to sell my work is because I don't have, I have agents outside, one agent in Paris and another one in London, and they look out for these markets. I didn't even know those things existed. Wow. So yeah, it takes a lot, but it's hopeful. It's hopeful. So long as the continent is coming together, I think it's hopeful, because then it creates a different way of us marketing. Like, I would like to open my film in Lagos, in Ghana, without having to sell to my secondary market, which is Europe. Yeah, and then also VOD platforms like Amazon and Netflix are really kind of helping with the distribution.
Right.
Yeah. So Gina, that's all great, and congratulations on making your sales. It's not easy to do a film, so always applaud people who do that. I think I'd just like to chime in a little bit on distribution. Yes, I agree. It's about training. It's about understanding the windowing system. And I think a lot of it, just kind of circling back to what I said earlier, is going through training programs or mentorship programs where you create relationships. Because I think, like Samuel said, this is a relationship industry. And in as much as, yes, there's the call to maybe train people in Kenya, I feel a more Pan-African approach, like what Gina is saying, is important. And I think also at a continent level, I think we need to start, resources need to be started being invested at a continental level, and and work, you know, investing into what's already working, as opposed to us trying to reinvent the wheel in 50, you know, in over 50 something countries, and everyone's doing something in their little corner, and there's not really any progress made. I would say, for example, something like DocuBox. I got a grant fund from there for both of those features. They're East African based. And through that, you're able to meet other East African filmmakers and understand how their markets are working. There's the Creative Indaba Producer Program, which is Pan-African. And through something like that, you meet Nigerian producers, you meet South African producers, you create relationships. There's the opportunity to co-produce and there's the opportunity to understand how the different markets work. Because I think if there's just training in Kenya with Kenyan producers only, I'm not sure how that's going to help as much as if there was training that had Kenyan producers, had Ugandan producers, had South African producers, had Nigerian producers, so we can start collaborating. Because the problem is we're working in silos here, and we're not, as Gina said, able to fully, monetize our little markets, you know. So we, like Gina said, we need to start thinking Pan-African, and that also just comes to ways to create relationships. So to you, Serge, if you're French cultural attaché, my challenge to you is to put together a Pan-African program, or support something like Creative Indaba, which is already doing quite well in its first year. I think that would be my challenge to you, or support Pan-African distribution networks, because I think that's how we're going to grow.
If I may add, I think distribution is a very wide distribution and marketing. Can be, you know, we can tackle this the next 4 hours if we jumped into it deeply. But then I think it's important for every producer to be honest with what they are making and how far they want that product to go. And I always say it's important for someone to think about their product being like just like any other product. You know, you have maize flour and you want to export it to Congo. You first have to go to Congo and or network with a distributor who is in Congo, who understands the market and knows where and how to move your maize flour to every tiny shop in Congo. Right. So, and film is not any different. So if you decide you want to make a product that will appeal to the Nigerian audience, I think it's important for you to understand the Nigerian market first, or know what are the standards, where should you be aiming for. Then from there, now you're able to say, okay, maybe I might need a few actors from Nigeria to come and work on my film. You know, that opens now doors for you to be able to export your film to those markets. Now, I've always been, one who is very keen on that Pan-Africanism and being able to look at Africa as a huge market or one market. And even on the platform, Vumi Central, we have a payment gateway that allows us to collect from almost 20 countries from all over Africa. Get paid in Kwacha, whatever, Naira, and you get paid, you can collect with all those currencies. And because in Africa, it's also very, like someone said, very difficult to penetrate if you don't have like mobile money payment options, because everyone pays with mobile money. And that's why even subscription will not take off in Africa, because there's just no way of renewing your subscription through M-Pesa. I mean, like auto debit. That's what I mean. Yeah. But when you buy like you subscribe to Netflix, every month you just see a notification. Netflix has taken your money. Yeah. And you have, I mean, it's just that's the way it works, and especially for subscription models. Yeah. So for us to really make money from the product locally, we also need to be able, because we don't have enough cinemas, we need to really maximize on the TVOD, the TVOD window, which is the transactional window where you pay for whatever you watch the film. Like now, if once Tony is done with the theatrical, they might decide they want to bring the film to Vumi Central, and people can pay someone in Turkana who has no access to a cinema is able to watch Softy, yeah, for the same, it wouldn't be the same experience because the theatrical experience is nothing like it. You cannot replace a theatrical experience, yeah, and that's why most, like if you really want to enjoy Softy, go to the theater, watch it, yeah. But if you have no access to a cinema, that's where now the TVOD comes in. Now, what that does is that it doesn't water your product down that is not available in the next 6 months on Netflix. Netflix, as long as it's not competing at their level, which is subscription, they are not in transactional window, yeah. So you can have your movie on, Amazon Video, not Prime, because Prime is subscription. Once you take it to Amazon Prime, Netflix do not pick it, or neither with any other subscription take it. So it's important for you, like Saj says, for you to understand the product you have and how much you want to make it valuable. Like how much do you want to make sure you recoup as much as possible before watering it down by taking it directly to a subscription, and then that's it. Because after subscription, the next window will be probably the free-to-air TV, yeah? So it's important for you to understand all those windows and how the market exactly works, how the product moves in an independent system. Because a lot of people have these fascinations with Hollywood model, which is a studio model. But even within Hollywood, there's the independent filmmakers, and there's just a way they move their movie. For your information, most of the film festivals, if you go to like Berlinale or Cannes, you'll be surprised that majority of the films that are being sold there and being bought are actually American backed or financed, because they've understood how to monetize, their films. And you'll also be surprised that 90% of the best films, amazing movies, are not on subscription, but you will find them on iTunes or Amazon Video for rental or whatever. So it doesn't mean that taking your movie to a subscription model is the holy grail. No, you have to think about the product you have. You can actually make even more money because your film is made locally, it's consumed locally. You can actually create theatrical experiences in small villages and still make your money back.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. So there was a seventh question.
Sorry, before you continue, I just wanted to say that all this stuff that Wilfred is saying, yes, you can go and consult with Wilfred. But also, before you consult with Wilfred, you can also check the internet. It exists. There are YouTube videos, there are websites, there are people in your industry. Like, be innovative, be adaptable. Don't just wait for someone to come and tell you, don't wait for a panel like this to get your data. These panels are great, but they don't always happen. And we're lucky that COVID happened. So, now we have a lot of them. Before, we didn't have access to these things. We had to go physically, and sometimes you don't have the time. But I think it's important that you do the research, do the work, read, be curious.
Okay, thank you, Sam. I'm going to skip, I know all of you were sent the question, so I'm going to skip one question, mainly because I would have really liked if Alex was here, because the question was just specifically maybe for him. And having Sam mention YouTube and all that stuff, it brings us to how important is social media, or what's the role of social media in the film industry? Because that's where we're going. We're in the social media era right now. And so what do you think social media adds to the film industry? And I will start with Tony. She can start us off with that.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. When you say social media, what do you mean? From
in
marketing?
Terms of all the sites. There's Instagram, there's YouTube, there's Twitter, and all those handles, right? Like, how are they an advantage in the film industry? Because everything that's happening currently is moving along with social media, right? So you as a filmmaker, as a producer, as a director, as a scriptwriter, what do you think is the advantage of social media in this industry?
Okay, maybe I'll just answer this question speaking specifically from, I think, launching a film and marketing. I would say, I mean, of course, like right now in the COVID era where everyone is living on the internet, it's important to be able to have money set aside for marketing. And these days, because people aren't out and about as much as possible because of COVID, out of home advertising might not be ideal and is prohibitive. You know, billboards cost hundreds of thousands of shillings. Very few filmmakers can afford that. But setting up like social media accounts, like when you're launching a film and building audiences digitally is, I think, really important for filmmakers, because that's how you're going to, I guess, be able to build a community around your body of work and hopefully retain them from project to project. I would say that when you're thinking about like marketing your film and positioning it, it's something that filmmakers need to start thinking as early as possible. For documentary, I would say during production. I'm sure narrative is different probably from the casting phase, but like with documentary in production, you need to be doing behind the scenes. You need to be taking photos of your characters because, you know, when you have a film and you're launching it for festivals, they ask you for an entertainment package, and that requires a lot of photos. Like you always think you have a lot of photos until you actually have to promote a film, and you realize you barely have even enough any photos even to just make an amazing poster. So I would say I would look at social media from the position of marketing a film and building and retaining an audience.
Right. Go ahead, Jenna.
I don't know. Social media was very helpful for me. I remember when we were trying to penetrate the US market, we had distribution, theatrical distribution on demand, and how our contract or how the deal was packaged was they would only open the cinema if I tipped a certain number of people. And so through social media, we mobilized the people in Houston, mobilized the people in Dallas, and mobilized the people in Massachusetts, and they bought tickets. So what Tony is saying is through the process of dreaming this thing, I engaged my small audience that grew, and then now when we're reaching out into other cities, we would promote the movie through social media, like Leo, Massachusetts, and people would go in there and they would book their tickets, and the number for the cinema would keep increasing, and finally would get past 70, and they would tip the cinema open. So I was not physically there, but through social media, I was marketing in Dallas, and of course having a few Dallas friends who are really moving on my behalf. So social media is like God sent for independent filmmakers. Absolutely.
Right.
Plug into it.
Right. And as well,
be intentional and create your brand, you know, as a filmmaker, because those people follow you. Sorry. They follow you, and they're like a fan base, and they watch out for you, and you never know who's in your circle, who knows. It's so interesting. Some of my big leads didn't come from the big producers. They came from a small person who knew something I don't know, and they would throw it down in my inbox and say, hey, have you ever thought about this? And I'm like, ooh, okay. So social media, plug into it.
Absolutely, as well as the way you guys have said, connecting producers, connecting actors, connecting filmmakers. Nowadays, it's like everything is within your hand. You know, you can go to a producer's DM and just DM them, ask them for their email, ask them if you can have a chat, and something can come out of there. So for sure, social media has played and does play a big role.
Can I say something on that? Okay, sorry. It's just when people send you a message, I would like to say this because Tony, you touched on this. Well, I think because you have access to the people you're looking for. don't send shoddy messages. Like, think professionally, because I feel a lot of young people are missing out on these relationship connections because someone writes to you, Sussex. I mean, it's not even a thought out paragraph. You know, I'm just like, I mean, you want Tony's attention. Do you know how hard she has worked for that space? Why would you write her that?
Yeah.
You know, so I think just that message of young people, when you go into these spaces and you're meeting people you admire, keep your professionalism and don't think they're going to, you know, I mean, and also you get a lot of bulk email. So you look out for the person who's aggressive and the person who's thought out, who, you know, everyone writes to you, oh, I want you to read my script. I'm like, how are you going to read your script? You're looking for money. You know, you're going to find out one aggressive person who's more polished in their proposal, polished in their thinking, how they address you. That's the person you're going to give a shot to.
Right.
So, yeah, I just need to touch on that. It's really burning in me because I get a whole lot of that.
It's very important because I feel like also young people to professionalize the industry. Just because you're a creative as well doesn't mean that now it's not professional. You also need to professionalize that. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, or you are a socialite, you know, just I have 10,000 people following me. Now I can reach out to Tony and just write. I'm just like, you know, like understand what people have worked hard for. And if I have a shot to write a DM to Steven Spielberg, I'm not gonna just write trash. I'm really gonna think about it. Or, you know, just, you know, that seriousness, don't lose it because of familiarity.
Yeah.
You know, so you bombard her with comments, you know, I'm just like, you're losing shots. You know, I remember, I don't know, Tony, but I'm an old schooler, man, we camped for hours trying to meet the people we were trying to meet, you know, traveled across countries, lost so much money and still couldn't lock a meeting, you know. Now you have that person on DM, make the DM count.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit hesitant about the idea of reaching out to complete strangers in their DMs or on social media and expecting them to help you because you are so amazing. Because fact is, I mean, you could be, but fact is, there are a lot of amazing people in the world. I think the importance, you know, we're always trying to reach upwards, and I've had a lot of people say this, and Samuel just said it, network with your peers, because you need to network with the people and build relationships with the people you will rise with, you know, like you said, like many times, and also I think in the same case for me, like many times, you know, the people who come through for you or the people who will introduce you to your next relationship or your next job or where you'll discover an amazing project is from your peers. Like I mean, I'm not going to produce Ava DuVernay's next documentary. We're not peers. And I will probably most likely find my next project amongst my circle or, you know, 6 degrees of separation. So I always, like whenever someone just reaches out to me and say, hi, can you produce my film? I'm like, have you ever produced anything? Like I actually respond and I just say, if you want to learn about directing etc., go to this masterclass. Or there's this fund that offers training. Like I'm an indie producer. I do not have the capacity to train people. I would love to, but I don't. And I just also, and like what Gina is saying, even these really busy people, they have PAs. You're probably not even DMing that person. You're probably DMing the PA.
Exactly.
who will ignore you because they never listen to their DMs. So I think it's just also just understanding that it's a relationship business and relationships.
Right.
Yeah, I would say like a lot of young people don't invest enough time in, like learning how to network. And one organization that I know that does a lot of events is the French Cultural Center. They always have screenings. They always have, some events going around. And some guy is just in town in a club. Instead of first going, network with peers, people in the industry, or meet someone they have they've never met before. So they should always take those kind of opportunities very serious. Same thing with COM-eCON, like if there's a film festival or a festival, creative festival somewhere happening, you will go and meet your next designer, production designer there, your editor or whatever. So just being part of those communities is more important than just waiting for you to, to DM people random questions. And even, you don't even know how to, first of all, present the project. Because in some of these festivals, you actually learn, I need to have my logline right, my synopsis, my treatment, my outline, my, like a one pager of my script, whatever. That's how you learn how to pitch. And because some of those events also have competitions, so you actually go and sit there and listen to some competitions. Then you know how to prepare your work before you go to meet Tony or Gina or any other producer.
Most of you guys, even when you sent in your bio, you've really packaged yourself. You packaged yourself. You know what you're doing, how you're doing it. If you're a producer, director, actor, you really packaged yourself well. So the question is, how do you package yourself as a brand?
Like I said, I think it's a creative space that requires more than monetary motivation. And I think once you find your purpose allows you to connect to your fan base. Your purpose allows you to identify the relationships you need to build in. So I think for me, having earlier thought that my breakthrough was going to be in Hollywood, and then having to come back and shoot the film in Africa, and then really developing a passion for Africa, it has set me apart on how I think on my next movie. I'm not going to make a movie like George Lucas on Star Wars, So because that's not my brand. My brand is not that. I am passionate about African stories. So your brand is very important. It allows you to know what conversations to have on social media.
I think I'd also like to speak a little bit about integrity, because this is a relationship-based industry. Trust comes into play. So you could do all of this amazing work in terms of building your brand and being seen in all the right places. But if you are a director who shows up late on set, if you are a producer who steals people's money, if you're a distributor who changes their address after they make sales, like, no one's going to do business with you. It's relationship based, and sooner or later, whatever you're doing in the dark catches up to you. And I think we've seen this with Weinstein and Kevin Spacey and all of these, people who have all of these sexual harassment cases. And even right now in the Kenyan creative industry, there are a couple of people who people are calling out for sexual assault.
Learn soft skills. We've already spoken about networking. The networking also has something to do with communication. Go and do a course in business English or something. Like Coursera has cheap courses. Spend 1,100 or whatever amount of money. You don't have to go for a course for 6 months. Do the course at your own time. You can do it on your phone. Learn what it takes to speak the language.
I think the one thing that we can actually export confidently to the rest of the world is our culture. And we need to learn how to package it and, at that level, so that we are able to now monetize. I mean, there's nothing beautiful like getting paid in dollars and spending it in shillings. And I believe we also have a market within the region or within the continent. So we should not be thinking that exporting only means exporting to the West. It means understanding your audiences locally and being able to sell to them what they actually want to see. So this is my, my drive really. That's what keeps me going. Being able to see, transforming young people into professionals. They come to us not knowing anything to do with, let's say, film or animation or music or whatever. But by the end of the 2 years, we are able to see transformation. And transformation because we also actually very serious on soft skills. So some of our, we are very proud of the people that we get out there. And I believe within the industry, a lot of the people who work in the industry have started interacting with them a lot now. And I see them on social media, on different productions. There's always, an ADMI student somewhere. I think for me, that is the most satisfying thing I can say I contributed to the industry. but I hope they will be now the next. As I said, like Tony would agree that a lot of people mature when they are mature in the industry when they are in their 30s and 40s. So we gave them the right foundation. We hope in the next 20 years they will be taking over the world, not just Africa.
And mentoring the other ones who are coming up as well. Yeah.
Correct.
Great. Gina?
What was the question again? Sorry.
Sorry, the question was, what has been your biggest obstacle and what has kept you going, together with your final remarks?
I think your greatest obstacle is markets. Accessing markets so that you make return of investment. That has been the greatest challenge for me. Which, of course, in every challenge lies an opportunity. So you find brilliant ways, smart ways of looking at the wall, and then, a year later you get a solution. So, yeah, that has been my greatest accessing of markets. Because, like for fictional film, you need more investment. So even if you made a sale to Netflix, you're not going to make back what you got from shooting, the capital that you made, unless they paid for the production. That's different. My final take is, there's enough for all of us.
Yeah.
There's enough. And, as much as we do have the social media platform to call out people on their lack of integrity of places they've failed us, we also have to also use that very same platform to uplift the ones who are doing the right job. Otherwise what happens, it's a hate culture and we're absolutely critical of each other. I want to see Softy succeed, because in Tony succeeding, I succeed. So every filmmaker needs to succeed. Someone needs to succeed so that I succeed. So I just think, we have this myopic thing that, I'm the queen of this jungle. And I'm like, it's a larger market. It's large, think 1 billion people. Then you don't have to sabotage the other person.
Right.
Just start with Africa. 1 billion is your market. And then support each other. Let us know, Tony, how we can help you here. We want to see it. I think it's a noble cause.
Yeah. And also,
even the fact that Samuel Karibu Kenya, we want that East African thing. We need numbers. The Kenyan industry is too small. We need numbers.
Yeah. What keeps you going?
What keeps me going? My faith. I was the kid who directed Kalongo. So, even before I knew what filmmaking was, I directed plays in church and stuff. So there's just a deeper conviction for me that when I use film, I can address many social issues.
Right.
So keep going. That really, really keeps me going.
Great.
The mentor relationship, very, very important.
Great. Samuel?
Obstacles. Okay, so I used to look at this as an obstacle, not having a portfolio, and because I've tried to produce a couple of feature films, and the biggest obstacle when you're reaching out to, and I'm good at communicating, by the way. I write good emails, and I package my products well, and it's a fact. I don't say it because I'm trying to brag or anything. It is a fact. But I try, because I know I need to stop wasting people's time. But the thing is, one of the reasons that I've stalled, or what seems like I'm stalling, is that I don't have a portfolio. So that was the obstacle, right? But I realized, looking back, that time was necessary for me to learn so many other things. So if I had gotten my success and gotten my film into one fine day, directed my film, there are a lot of things. It's a great opportunity, but there are things I would have missed. And I feel like the frustration caused me to learn more, to seek more. How do I maneuver this obstacle? It's like an analogy I'll use is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like you're trying to, or wrestling, or Roman wrestling, you're trying to get one up over the opponent. in this case, the opponent is, well, okay, it's not exactly the best analogy. It's not an opponent, but, you know, I'm trying to woo this person onto my side. I'm trying to seduce them to look at me and see that I have value. But in the frustration, I learned that there are other skills I could learn in the process, you know. I learned about the distribution windows, for example. I started my own VOD platform with my wife. You know, I've made relationships with so many people because of that, in being inquisitive about that. So that, and what keeps me going, to be honest, is that I see myself as a storyteller in whatever aspect, whether I'm building this company that's distributing like short form content, or I'm making shorts and feature films, or if I'm building something else, an app, for example, I am telling a story, you know, and that's where I want to be, you know, because I feel like that's what I've been gifted at, and I have a responsibility to share that with the world and open the door for other people who don't have that access.
Great. Thank you so much, Sam. Wilfred, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay, the question was, what's been your biggest obstacle and what has kept you going? Together with your final remarks.
Okay. Biggest obstacle, I think, is financing. We have a lot of dreams, or big dreams, that we would want to execute, big, you know, but unfortunately, financing is very hard to come by in Africa, and especially in Kenya as well. The structures are just not there. But we are fighting hard to get to penetrate that wall, and I'm sure we'll take it down very soon. Yeah, but then in terms of what keeps me going, it's, you know, just being able to see a lot of products from this region, traveling the world, and making, you know, a huge impact. One product is, you know, Softy. I Am Somewhere is also making waves in UK. So there's a lot of films and even video games as well. They are all over. I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming out from Africa, and everyone in the world is starting to notice. And you know, there's conviction in that, because people like Afrobeat has been able to penetrate the whole of the, you know, the rest of the world. So it's possible for the same to happen for film, animation, and you know, and gaming as well.
Most definitely, Africa is rising. That's the slogan now.
Yeah, I think people need to know that Africa will also be the biggest market in the world in the next 30 to 50 years. I think it will be about 4 billion, second after Asia. And you know, India, basically will be the second biggest market. But how are we preparing for that?
Tony?
Yes, so I would say the biggest obstacle has always been financing. I mean, as a producer, that's a big part of your job, just raising finance and building those relationships. But I would say, like, I think since 2013, when I actually became a producer, like raising finance for projects, to now, I've seen such huge change, which has given me a lot of hope. I mean, funds like DocuBox, which was started by Judy Kibunge, you know, a filmmaker herself. You know, she started this fund. They grant, you know, documentary funding. They started doing narrative short funding. They want to get into series. So I think just seeing these developments, you know, from 2013 till now, what DocuBox alone has been able to do. And even, you know, there's optimism around even the Kenya Film Commission. I wish Alex was here just to share the amazing things they're doing. Like right now they have a second call for funding of projects. You know, they finance development of some series of features and earlier this year, and now there's a second call for funding. who would have ever thought that we would have a film fund by the Kenya Film Commission? And right now they're pushing for film policies so that we can start getting into co-productions with other African markets. So I'm very optimistic just seeing the change that many of us thought was impossible and that we would probably see in the next generation.
Not to get into the cliche, but it's really time to hear those stories that have not been told or that have been muffled for such a long time. Now it's really time to hear from Kenya, from East Africa. It's time to see the world through the lenses coming from this side of the world. So that's my motivation. That's really what guides me. It has guided me previously in my previous positions or in what I've done in the past, and it keeps guiding me today, and I think forever, really, because it's really where my heart is. So.
Wow. So I'd like to just close this by saying thank you to all of you for coming on board, and I'm sure there's connections that have been made here and so many motivations, especially to Sarge, to do that. And we're waiting to hear you say that you have a producer's workshop or something from all over. And yeah, I'm very, very grateful for you guys. And we hope that this will impact the lives of whoever's going to watch. And also, if they're going to reach out to you, they know how to come correct, as Gina said. And yeah, so thank you so much. And I wish you guys a good night.